The hostess looked right through him. Raffle Carter stood at the restaurant entrance, his reservation confirmation on his phone screen, watching the young woman's seat party after party while pretending he didn't exist. He was a billionaire CEO. He'd closed deals worth millions with a single phone call. But tonight, on New Year's Eve in a moderately priced family restaurant, he was invisible. "Excuse me," he said for the third time. "I have a reservation, Carter. 7 o'clock. She glanced at him, her eyes sliding past without recognition. "We're fully booked tonight. Maybe try somewhere else." "But I made a reservation 2 weeks ago." She turned her back and walked away. Raffle stood there, feeling something crack inside his chest. When had this started? When had people begun looking through him instead of at him? His assistant made his reservations at high-end restaurants. His driver took him to business dinners where people knew his name and net worth. But here, alone, trying to have a normal New Year's Eve dinner, he was nobody. He watched families laugh together at their tables. Couples held hands across white tablecloths. Children colored on paper menus while their parents smiled. The warmth of belonging seemed to glow around them like a light he couldn't touch. Then a small hand waved at him. A little girl with pigtails and a bright red dress was standing on her chair, waving enthusiastically. Her mother, a beautiful African-American woman in a blue sweater, turned to see who her daughter was signaling. The woman's eyes met his and something passed between them. Recognition maybe. Not of who he was, but of what he was feeling. The woman stood up and walked toward him. Have you ever felt completely invisible, even in a crowded room? If this story touches your heart, hit subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know, when was the last time a stranger's kindness changed your day? New Year's Eve sparkled outside the restaurant windows. People hurried past in their party clothes, laughing and calling to each other. Inside, the warmth and noise of celebration filled every corner. Every corner except where Raffle stood, alone and unwanted. "Hi," the woman said, stopping in front of him. Up close she was even more striking. Her brown eyes were kind but held a wariness he recognized. Life had taught her caution. "My daughter Sophia noticed you standing here. We have extra room at our table if you'd like to join us." Raffle blinked. I have a reservation." "I know," she said gently. "But they don't seem interested in honoring it. I'm Carolina Brooks." She extended her hand. He shook it, feeling the calluses on her palm. Working hands. Honest hands. "Raffle Carter." "Well, Raffle, Sophia is very insistent that you sit with us. She's 6, and when she makes up her mind about something, there's no changing it." Carolina smiled and it reached her eyes. "Please. We'd be happy to have you." Something in him wanted to refuse. Pride maybe. Or the fear of seeming pathetic. But then he looked at the little girl still waving at him, her smile wide and genuine, and he found himself nodding. "Thank you. I accept." Carolina led him through the crowded restaurant to a small table near the window. Sophia bounced in her seat as they approached. "Mama, you brought him," Sophia said, delighted. "I did, baby. This is Mr. Raffle." "Raffle, this is my daughter, Sophia." "Just Raffle is fine," he said, sitting down in the chair Carolina pulled out. "Thank you for inviting me, Sophia." "You looked sad," Sophia said simply. "Nobody should be sad on New Year's Eve." Raffle didn't know what to say to that. Children had a way of cutting straight through pretense to the truth underneath. A waitress appeared, this one actually looking at him. "Can I get you something to drink?" "Water is fine." "And whatever they're having," he gestured to Carolina and Sophia, "please add it to my bill." "Oh no," Carolina said quickly. "That's not necessary." "Please," Raffle said. "It's the least I can do. You're sharing your table." Carolina studied him for a moment, then nodded. "All right. Thank you." The waitress took their orders and disappeared. Sophia immediately launched into a story about her school's holiday pageant where she played a reindeer. Raffle listened, surprised to find himself genuinely interested. When was the last time someone had talked to him about something other than profit margins and quarterly reports? "And then Tommy forgot his lines, so I had to help him," Sophia said. "Mrs. Patterson said I was a very good friend." "That was kind of you," Raffle said. "Mama says kindness is the most important thing." Carolina looked slightly embarrassed. "I may have mentioned that once or twice." "You mentioned it every day," Sophia corrected, making Raffle smile. The food arrived. Simple dishes, chicken fingers for Sophia, a salad for Carolina, and a burger for Raffle. Nothing fancy. Nothing like the meals he usually ate at exclusive restaurants where the portions were tiny and the prices enormous. But sitting here, watching Sophia dip her chicken in ketchup while chattering about her best friend at school, Raffle realized he was enjoying himself more than he had in years. "What do you do, Raffle?" Carolina asked during a pause in Sophia's monologue. "I run a company," he said, keeping it vague. "Technology sector. It's demanding." "Is that why you're alone tonight?" The question was gentle but direct. Raffle appreciated that she didn't dance around it. "I'm always alone," he admitted. "I work most of the time. I don't really have friends. Family is complicated." He stopped, surprised at his own honesty. "Sorry? That's probably more than you wanted to know." "Don't apologize for the truth," Carolina said. "I get it. Being alone isn't always a choice." He wanted to ask her story, but Sophia was tugging on his sleeve, showing him the coloring page the restaurant had provided. She'd drawn a picture of 3 people at a table. "That's us," she explained. "See? You, me, and Mama." Something tight in Raffle's chest loosened. When had anyone included him in their family portrait, even a crayon drawing? They talked through dinner, the conversation flowing easier than Raffle expected. Carolina was a security guard at an office building downtown. She worked nights mostly, which meant seeing Sophia off to school and sleeping during the day. It was hard, she admitted, but it paid the bills. "And someday I want to go back to school," she said. "Maybe become a teacher." Sophia's teacher, Mrs. Patterson, she makes such a difference in kids' lives. "I'd like to do that too." "You'd be good at it," Raffle said, meaning it. He could see it, Carolina in a bright green dress, surrounded by children who adored her. "What about you?" she asked. "Do you like what you do?" Did he? Raffle considered the question seriously. "I used to. Or I thought I did. Lately, it feels like I'm just going through motions. Building things nobody needs. Making money I don't spend. Living in a house too big for one person. That sounds lonely." "It is." Sophia, picking up on the mood, reached across the table and patted his hand. "Don't be sad, Raffle. You're with us now." The simple kindness of it nearly undid him. The restaurant began counting down to midnight. All around them, people stood, gathering their loved ones close. Carolina pulled Sophia onto her lap. Raffle felt like an intruder again, but Carolina smiled at him. 10, 9, 8. The whole restaurant joined in. Raffle found himself counting too, his voice mixing with hundreds of others. 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. Noise erupted. People kissed and hugged and cheered. Sophia threw her arms around Carolina's neck, then turned and hugged Raffle too. He froze for a second, then carefully hugged her back. "Happy New Year, Raffle," Carolina said, raising her glass of water. He clinked his glass against hers. "Happy New Year." For the first time in longer than he could remember, he meant it. They finished their meal slowly, none of them eager for the evening to end. When the check came, Raffle paid it before Carolina could protest. "You already gave us so much tonight," he said. "Please let me do this." "All right," Carolina said. She didn't fight him, just accepted with grace. "Thank you." Outside, the cold air bit at their faces. Sophia yawned, suddenly exhausted from the excitement. Carolina lifted her daughter easily, settling her on her hip. "Can we give you a ride somewhere?" Raffle asked. "Our car's just around the corner," Carolina said. "But thank you." They stood in awkward silence for a moment. Raffle didn't want the night to end. He searched for something to say, some reason to see them again. Carolina solved the problem for him. She pulled out her phone. "Can I get your number? Sophia would probably like to see you again. If you want." "Yes," Raffle said, perhaps too quickly. "I'd like that very much." They exchanged numbers. Sophia, half asleep on Carolina's shoulder, mumbled a goodbye. Carolina smiled at him one more time. "Thank you for joining us tonight, Raffle. I hope this year is better for you." "It already is," he said honestly. He watched them walk away, Carolina's blue sweater bright against the dark night, Sophia's red dress a splash of color. For the first time in years, Raffle felt something like hope. The text came 3 days later. Raffle was in his office, a glass and steel tower where he could see the entire city spread below him. He was supposed to be reviewing a merger proposal, but his mind kept drifting back to New Year's Eve, to a little girl's smile and her mother's kind eyes. His phone buzzed. "Hi Raffle, it's Carolina. Sophia wanted me to tell you she drew another picture of you. She made you wear a purple hat this time. Hope you're well." Raffle found himself smiling. He typed back immediately. "I'd love to see it. How is she?" The response came quickly. "Energetic as always. She asks about you every day. Says we need to have dinner with you again." "I like that. When are you free?" There was a longer pause this time. Raffle stared at his phone, wondering if he'd been too forward. Then, Saturday? Nothing fancy. Just pizza maybe. Perfect. Let me know where and when. Saturday felt impossibly far away. Raffle caught himself checking his phone constantly, hoping for another message. His assistant, Mrs. Chen, noticed. Are you expecting an important call, Mr. Carter? No, he said, then reconsidered. Maybe. Personal matter. Mrs. Chen raised an eyebrow. In 15 years of working for him, she'd never heard him mention anything personal. Saturday arrived. Raffle changed clothes 3 times before settling on jeans and a green sweater. Casual but neat. He looked at himself in the mirror of his massive master bedroom and wondered when he'd become this person, nervous about pizza with a woman and her daughter. The restaurant Carolina chose was nothing like the places Raffle usually went. It was a local chain with checkered tablecloths and a salad bar. Children ran between tables while tired parents tried to corral them. It was loud and chaotic and wonderful. Carolina and Sophia were already there, sitting in a booth near the back. Sophia saw him first and waved enthusiastically. She wore a bright yellow dress today, her hair in 2 puffs on either side of her head. Raffle, she called, drawing looks from nearby tables. Carolina stood as he approached. She wore a red blouse with jeans, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked beautiful. Hi, she said, smiling. Thanks for coming. Thank you for inviting me, Raffle said, sliding into the booth across from them. Sophia immediately pushed a piece of paper across the table. Look, I drew you. The crayon figure wore what appeared to be a very tall purple hat and stood next to 2 other figures. It's perfect, Raffle said. Can I keep it? Sophia nodded vigorously. Mama says we should give gifts to people we like. I like you. I like you too, Sophia. They ordered pizza. While they waited, Sophia told Raffle about her week at school. She'd learned about penguins in science class and was now convinced they needed to visit the zoo. The zoo sounds fun, Raffle said, looking at Carolina. Maybe we could all go sometime? Maybe, Carolina said carefully. But she was smiling. The pizza arrived. As they ate, the conversation flowed naturally. Carolina talked about her job, about the people she saw coming and going at the office building. Raffle found himself telling them about his company, simplifying the details for Sophia's benefit. So you make computers smarter? Sophia asked. Something like that. Cool. Can you make one that does my homework? Sophia, Carolina said, trying not to laugh. What? It would be helpful. Raffle grinned. I think the point of homework is for you to learn, not the computer. Sophia sighed dramatically. That's what Mama says too. After pizza they got ice cream. Sophia got chocolate with rainbow sprinkles. Carolina chose vanilla. Raffle got strawberry, and Sophia informed him it was an excellent choice. Raffle, Sophia said, serious suddenly. Are you going to be our friend now? The question caught him off guard. Carolina looked equally surprised. Sophia, honey, we just met Raffle. These things take time. But he's nice, Sophia said. And he's lonely. And we have room for friends. Right, Mama? Carolina met Raffle's eyes. He saw uncertainty there, but also something else. Possibility, maybe. Right, she said softly. We have room. Then yes, Sophia, Raffle said. I'd like to be your friend. Sophia beamed. Crisis averted, she went back to her ice cream. They stayed at the restaurant until Sophia started yawning. Outside the evening was clear and cold. Stars were just beginning to appear in the darkening sky. This was nice, Carolina said. Really nice. Can we do it again? Raffle asked. I'd like that. Sophia tugged on his hand. Will you come to the park with us tomorrow? Mama takes me every Sunday. Raffle looked at Carolina, asking permission. If you're free, she said. No pressure. I'm free, he said immediately. He had a meeting scheduled, but he'd cancel it. Some things were more important. Riverside Park, Carolina said. Around 2. I'll be there. That night, Raffle went home to his enormous empty house and stuck Sophia's drawing on his refrigerator. It was the only decoration in the entire sterile kitchen. He looked at the crayon figures for a long time, at the family she'd drawn him into, and felt something shift inside him. He didn't want to be alone anymore. And for the first time he didn't have to be. Riverside Park was alive with Sunday afternoon activity. Dogs chased frisbees. Teenagers played basketball on the courts. Families spread blankets on the grass, enjoying the unseasonably warm January day. Raffle arrived early, nervous in a way he hadn't been since his first board meeting 20 years ago. He'd worn jeans again and a blue jacket. Casual. Normal. He sat on a bench near the playground and waited. Raffle. Sophia's voice carried across the park. She was running toward him, Carolina walking behind her at a more measured pace. Sophia wore green today, bright as spring grass. Carolina had on jeans and a purple sweater that brought out the warmth in her skin. Sophia crashed into him with a hug. You came. I said I would, Raffle said, hugging her back. Carolina reached them, slightly out of breath. Someone was very excited to see you. The feeling is mutual. They walked to the playground together. Sophia immediately ran to the swings. Push me, Raffle? Please? He looked at Carolina, who nodded encouragingly. She loves the swings. Fair warning, she could stay there for hours. Raffle had never pushed a child on a swing before. He was awkward at first, uncertain how hard to push. But Sophia gave him instructions. Higher. No, not that high. Perfect. Carolina sat on a nearby bench, watching. After a few minutes she called out, I can take over if you want a break. I'm good, Raffle called back. And he was. This simple act, pushing Sophia on a swing, felt more meaningful than any business deal he'd ever closed. Other children came and went. Parents nodded at him, assuming he was Sophia's father. He didn't correct them. Sophia chattered the entire time, telling him stories about her classmates, about the book her teacher was reading to them, about the stray cat she'd seen in the alley behind their apartment building. Mama won't let me keep him, Sophia said sadly. But I put out food for him every day. That's kind of you, Raffle said. Kindness matters, Sophia said, repeating what was clearly a frequent lesson from Carolina. After the swings, Sophia wanted to try the slide. Then the monkey bars. Raffle helped her cross them, standing below in case she fell. She didn't. She was fearless and capable like her mother. Time passed without Raffle noticing. When he finally checked his phone, over an hour had gone by. He'd missed 2 calls from his office and several emails marked urgent. He didn't care. Want to sit? Carolina asked, gesturing to the bench beside her. Sophia had found a friend and they were playing an elaborate game involving a lot of running and shrieking. Raffle sat. They watched Sophia together in comfortable silence. She really likes you, Carolina said eventually. I really like her. And you. The words came out before he could stop them. Carolina turned to look at him, her expression unreadable. Raffle. Sorry? Too much. No, she said slowly. Just unexpected. We barely know each other. Then let's change that. Tell me about yourself. The real stuff, not just the surface details. Carolina was quiet for a moment, watching her daughter play. What do you want to know? Everything. Where you grew up. What you dream about. Why you're so kind to strangers. She laughed softly. That's a lot. We have time. So she told him. About growing up in a small town in Georgia, about moving to the city for college and never finishing because she got pregnant. About Sophia's father, who left before she was born. About working multiple jobs to make ends meet, about the loneliness of being a single parent in a city full of people. But I'm not looking for pity, she said firmly. I have a beautiful daughter. A roof over our heads. We're healthy. We're happy. That's more than a lot of people have. You're remarkable, Raffle said. I'm ordinary. I just do what needs doing. That's what makes you remarkable. They sat together as the afternoon stretched into evening. Sophia eventually came back, tired and grass-stained and happy. Can Raffle come for dinner? She asked. Sophia, we can't just invite ourselves into people's lives. But he's our friend, Sophia said, confused. Friends have dinner together. She's right, Raffle said. And I'd love to. If you'll have me. Carolina hesitated, then nodded. All right. But fair warning, it's just spaghetti. Nothing fancy. Sounds perfect. Their apartment was small but clean, decorated with Sophia's artwork and family photos. Raffle noticed there were no pictures of Sophia's father. Just Carolina and Sophia and an older woman who must be Carolina's mother. While Carolina cooked, Sophia showed Raffle her room. More drawings covered the walls. Books overflowed from a small shelf. Toys were neatly organized in bins. It was the room of a loved child. Dinner was simple. Spaghetti with sauce from a jar, garlic bread, salad. They ate at a small table in the kitchen, Sophia between them. It was the best meal Raffle had ever had. After dinner they played board games. Sophia won 3 times in a row and celebrated each victory with elaborate dances. Raffle pretended to be devastated by his losses, making her laugh. When Sophia started falling asleep at the table, Carolina carried her to bed. Raffle stood to leave, but Carolina stopped him. Thank you, she said. For today. For making her so happy. She makes me happy, Raffle said honestly. You both do. They stood in the doorway of her apartment, neither quite ready to say goodbye. Same time next Sunday? Carolina asked. I'll be there. This time when he went home, his house felt emptier than ever. But he had something to look forward to now. Sunday. The park. Carolina and Sophia. He fell asleep with a smile on his face. The text came on Tuesday morning. Car won't start. Might have to skip park this Sunday. Sorry. Raffle stared at his phone. Then he made a call. Jerry? I need a favor. By Wednesday afternoon, Carolina's car was fixed. She texted him, confused and grateful. The mechanic said someone already paid. Did you? You need a reliable car. For Sophia. Please accept it. There was a long pause. Then. Thank you. But Raffle, you can't just pay for things. Why not? Because, I don't know. Feels like too much. It's not enough. Not for what you've given me. Another pause. What have I given you? Oh. She didn't respond after that, but she didn't refuse the help either. Raffle took it as progress. Thursday he had books delivered to their apartment. Chapter books for Sophia, carefully chosen based on what she told him she liked. Nothing expensive or fancy, just good stories. Sophia called him that evening, breathless with excitement. Raffle. The books came. There's one about penguins. He could hear Carolina in the background, probably trying to stop Sophia from calling. But he was glad she had. Do you like them? I love them. Mama's going to read me one before bed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're welcome, sweetheart. When Carolina took the phone, her voice was gentle but firm. Raffle, you have to stop buying us things. Why? Because we're not a charity case. I never thought you were. I like doing nice things for you. For both of you. Is that so wrong? He heard her sigh. No, it's not wrong. It's incredibly kind. I'm not used to it. Get used to it, he said softly. Friday, he anonymously paid for Sophia's upcoming school field trip to the Science Museum. The school sent a letter home saying a generous donor had covered costs for several families. Carolina called him immediately. How did you even know about the field trip? Sophia mentioned it at dinner. Raffle. Please, Carolina. Let me help. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Let me use it for something that matters. We matter to you? Her voice was quiet. More than anything. She was silent for a long moment. Okay. But no more surprises. If you want to help with something, ask me first. Deal? Deal. But he couldn't quite help himself. When he noticed Carolina's winter coat was thin and worn, he had a new one delivered. Thick and warm, in a deep maroon that would look beautiful on her. She called him that evening. I said no more surprises. I know. I'm sorry. But it's getting cold and your coat. My coat is fine. Carolina, it's 10 degrees outside. Please, keep it. For Sophia, if not for yourself. She needs you healthy. A long pause. Then, it's beautiful. Like you. Raffle Carter, are you flirting with me? Is it working? She laughed and the sound made his heart race. Maybe. Sunday at the park became a regular thing. Then Wednesday dinners. Then random texts throughout the day. Raffle found himself thinking about Carolina and Sophia constantly. Planning little surprises. Finding ways to make their lives easier. He bought Sophia new shoes when he noticed her old ones were too small. He had groceries delivered to their apartment when Carolina mentioned her hours had been cut and money was tight. He paid their electric bill when winter temperatures dropped and he knew heating costs would rise. Each time Carolina protested. Each time she eventually accepted with gratitude. She was learning to let him help. He was learning what it meant to care about someone more than himself. One evening after dinner at a small diner they'd started frequenting, Sophia fell asleep in the booth. Carolina looked exhausted herself, her double shift showing in the dark circles under her eyes. Let me drive you home, Raffle said. We can take the bus. Please. It's late. You're tired. Let me help. She studied him for a moment. Why are you doing all this? Really? Because you saw me when no one else did. Because you invited a stranger to your table and changed my life. Because every moment I spend with you and Sophia makes me want to be a better person. Raffle. Because I care about you, Carolina. Both of you. More than I've cared about anything in a very long time. She reached across the table and took his hand. Her palm was warm against his. We care about you too. It wasn't a declaration of love. It wasn't a promise of forever. But it was enough. For now it was enough. February arrived with snow and cold that turned the city into a winter painting. Raffle found himself spending less time at the office and more time with Carolina and Sophia. His assistant noticed. His board of directors noticed. He didn't care. "You're different lately, Mr. Carter," Mrs. Chin said one morning, bringing him coffee. "Different how?" "Happier. You actually smiled at the security guard this morning." Had he really been that bad before? Probably. Work had consumed him for so long that he'd forgotten how to be human. "I'm learning that there's more to life than quarterly reports," he said. "Good. It's about time." That weekend the forecast called for snow. Sophia was beside herself with excitement. "Can we build a snowman? Can Raffle come?" Carolina texted him. "Snow day plans. Interested?" He was there before the first flake fell. They spent the morning in the park, building not one snowman but 3. Sophia insisted they needed a family. Carolina and Raffle exchanged a look over her head, both thinking the same thing but neither saying it out loud. Raffle had never built a snowman before. His childhood had been all private tutors and boarding schools. No time for playing in the snow. Carolina showed him how to roll the snow into balls, how to stack them just right. "You're a natural," she said, laughing as his snowman's head fell off for the 3rd time. "I'm terrible at this." "But you're trying. That's what matters." Sophia found sticks for arms and rocks for faces. She gave each snowman a personality. The tall one was the father. The medium one was the mother. The small one was the child. "Just like us," she said, then seemed to realize what she'd implied. "I mean, not that we're. I know what you mean, sweetheart," Raffle said gently. "And I like it." They stayed until Sophia's fingers were too cold to feel, even through her gloves. Then they went back to Carolina's apartment for hot chocolate. Raffle had been there enough times now that he knew where everything was. He made the hot chocolate while Carolina helped Sophia out of her wet clothes. They were comfortable together, moving around each other in the small kitchen like they'd been doing this for years instead of weeks. "Extra marshmallows?" Sophia demanded when she returned in dry clothes and fuzzy slippers. "Extra marshmallows," Raffle agreed, piling them high. They sat on the couch together, watching a movie Sophia had chosen. Halfway through, Sophia fell asleep between them, her head on Carolina's lap, her feet in Raffle's. "She's out," Carolina whispered, brushing hair from her daughter's face. "Should I go? Let you put her to bed?" "Stay. Please." So he stayed. They talked quietly while Sophia slept, careful not to wake her. They talked about everything and nothing. Carolina told him about her dream of going back to school. Raffle told her about the loneliness of success. They shared secrets and fears and hopes. "I'm scared," Carolina admitted, "of how much Sophia's getting attached to you. Of how much I'm getting attached to you." "Why does that scare you?" "Because people leave. They always leave." "I'm not going anywhere, Carolina." "You say that now. But what happens when you get bored? When the novelty wears off? When you remember you're a billionaire CEO and we're just us?" Raffle carefully moved Sophia's feet and shifted closer to Carolina. He took her hand. "You're not just anything. You're everything. Both of you. I know this is fast. I know it's probably crazy. But I've spent 40 years being lonely and successful and miserable. Then I met you and suddenly I remember what it feels like to be alive." "Raffle. I'm not asking for promises. I'm not asking for forever. I'm just asking for a chance. To be part of your lives. To keep building snowmen and eating pizza and reading bedtime stories. Can you give me that?" She looked at him for a long moment. Then she leaned forward and kissed him. It was soft and sweet and tasted like hot chocolate and hope. When they pulled apart, she was smiling. "Yes," she said. "We can give you that." The weeks that followed were the happiest of Raffle's life. He rearranged his schedule to have dinners with them during the week. He never missed a Sunday at the park. He read Sophia bedtime stories on video calls when he couldn't be there in person. He met Carolina's mother, who flew in for a weekend visit. She was skeptical at first, this wealthy man in her daughter's life. But when she saw how he looked at Carolina, how gentle he was with Sophia, she relaxed. "You make them happy," she said to him while Carolina and Sophia were in the other room. "Don't mess this up." "I won't. I promise." Valentine's Day came. Raffle wanted to do something special but not overwhelming. He took them to an aquarium, knowing Sophia's love of animals. They spent hours watching penguins and touching starfish and learning about ocean life. For Carolina, he'd made a donation in her name to a literacy program that helped adults get their high school diplomas. He gave her the certificate over dinner. "I thought, when you're ready to go back to school, This might help someone else while you prepare. She cried. Then she kissed him in front of Sophia and the entire restaurant, not caring who saw. I love you, she whispered against his lips. It was the first time either of them had said it. It wouldn't be the last. I love you too, Raffle whispered back. Both of you. Sophia cheered. Other diners smiled. And Raffle Carter, Billionaire CEO, felt richer than he'd ever felt in his life. March brought rain and the first hints of spring. It also brought doubt. Carolina stood in her small bathroom, staring at herself in the mirror. She'd lost weight. There were dark circles under her eyes from staying up too late with Raffle, from letting Sophia's bedtime stretch because she wanted just a few more minutes of all three of them together. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Raffle. Good morning, beautiful. Coffee later? She loved his text. Loved the way he thought of her throughout the day. But lately they'd started to feel like pressure. Like she was losing herself in this relationship, becoming dependent on him in ways that scared her. Her mother's voice echoed in her head. Never rely on a man. Always be able to stand on your own. She'd been independent for so long. Working 2 jobs, raising Sophia alone, handling every problem herself. And now Raffle was here, fixing things before she even knew they were broken. Paying bills. Buying groceries. Making her life easier in 1,000 ways. And she was terrified. What happened when he left? Because people always left. Sophia's father had. Her own father had. Every man she'd ever trusted had walked away eventually. She couldn't survive losing Raffle. Worse, she couldn't let Sophia survive losing him. Her daughter already called him on the phone every night. Already drew pictures of the three of them as a family. Already talked about him constantly at school. They were in too deep. And it had happened so fast that Carolina hadn't seen it coming. She texted back. Can we talk? Sometime today? His response was immediate. Of course. Everything okay? Yes. Just need to talk. They met at a coffee shop near her apartment. Raffle arrived before her, already had her favorite drink waiting. The gesture, meant to be kind, made what she had to say even harder. Hi, he said, smiling. Then he saw her face. What's wrong? She sat down, wrapping her hands around the warm cup. I need to ask you something. And I need you to be honest. Always. What are we doing, Raffle? He blinked, confused. I don't understand. This. Where is this going? Because it's moving so fast and I'm scared and I don't know if I can keep up. Carolina, I love you. I thought you knew that. I do. I love you too. But love isn't always enough. We're from different worlds. You're a billionaire. I'm a single mom working as a security guard. This doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense to me. Does it? Really? Or is this just a phase for you? A break from your real life? Because when you go back to that world, Raffle, where does that leave us? He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. The hurt on his face almost made her take it back. Almost. This is my real life, he said quietly. You and Sophia. Sunday mornings at the park. Reading bedtime stories. Making snow families. This is the most real thing I've ever had. But for how long? Until you get bored? Until your board of directors reminds you who you're supposed to be? Until someone from your world comes along who fits better? That's not going to happen. You don't know that. And I can't. I can't let Sophia get more attached. I can't let myself get more dependent. I need to be able to stand on my own. You are standing on your own. Accepting help doesn't make you weak, Carolina. It makes me vulnerable. And I can't afford vulnerable. Not with a daughter to raise. Raffle sat back, processing. She could see him thinking, trying to find the right words. What are you asking me to do? This was it. The moment she'd been dreading. I need space. We need space. Just for a little while. To think. To figure out if this is really what we both want. I know what I want. But I don't. Not anymore. Everything's moving too fast and I'm losing myself in you, and that terrifies me. How much space? I don't know. A few weeks? A month? I need to breathe, Raffle. I need to remember who I am without you. She saw the moment her words hit him. Saw the pain flash across his face. But to his credit, he didn't argue. Didn't try to convince her. He just nodded slowly. If that's what you need. It is. Can I check in? Make sure you're both okay? Maybe not right away. Let's take a real break. No texts. No calls. Just time apart. What about Sophia? She's going to wonder where I am. Carolina had thought about this. Dreaded this most of all. I'll tell her you're busy with work. That you need to focus on your company for a while. She'll be hurt. I know. But she'll be more hurt if you disappear later. This way it's temporary. Controlled. And if I prove to you that I'm not going anywhere? If I show you this is forever? Then maybe we can try again. Slowly. The right way. Raffles stood. He looked lost, like a man who'd just been told his home was burning down. I love you, Carolina. That's not going to change, no matter how much space you need. I love you too. That's why I have to do this. He left without another word. Carolina sat alone with her coffee, tears streaming down her face, wondering if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. That night, when Sophia asked where Raffle was, Carolina lied. He's very busy with work, baby. He might not be able to visit for a while. But he'll call, right? For our bedtime story? Not tonight, sweetheart. He has a lot of important meetings. Sophia's face fell. Did I do something wrong? No, baby. Never. This isn't about you. Then why can't he come? Sometimes grown-ups need space. It doesn't mean he doesn't love you. But Sophia didn't understand. How could she? She was 6 years old, and the man who'd become like a father to her had suddenly vanished. Carolina held her daughter while she cried, hating herself but believing she was doing the right thing. In his empty mansion across town, Raffles sat in the dark, holding Sophia's crayon drawing of their snow family. And for the first time since New Year's Eve, he felt completely alone again. What would you do if you had to choose between protecting your heart and holding on to love? Drop a comment below and don't forget to subscribe for the next chapter. The days without Carolina and Sophia felt endless. Raffles threw himself back into work, thinking it might help. It didn't. Every meeting felt pointless. Every deal felt hollow. He'd go to his office and stare at numbers that no longer meant anything. Mrs. Chin found him one afternoon sitting at his desk but not actually working. Mr. Carter, you have the Henderson call in 5 minutes. Cancel it. Sir, this is the 3rd meeting you've canceled this week. Then make it the 4th. I don't care about Henderson. I don't care about any of this. Mrs. Chin sat down across from him, something she'd never done in 15 years. What happened? I lost the only thing that mattered. The woman and her daughter. He looked up, surprised. You knew. Of course I knew. You were different. Happy. And now you're not. She asked for space. Said she needed time to think. Did you fight for her? She asked me not to. She asked me to respect her boundaries. So I am. Mrs. Chin sighed. Respecting boundaries is good, Mr. Carter. But drowning in your office isn't. If you can't have them right now, find something else that matters. Something that makes you feel like the person you were when you had them. She was right. He knew she was right. That night, Raffles drove through the city aimlessly. He passed their park. The coffee shop where Carolina had broken his heart. The restaurant where they'd celebrated Valentine's Day. Then he saw a sign. Community Center. Volunteers needed. He pulled over. The center was old but well-maintained. Inside, children played in a large room while tired parents sat in chairs around the edges. A woman in a green shirt approached him. Can I help you? The sign said you need volunteers. She looked him up and down, taking in his expensive clothes and polished shoes. We do. What kind of volunteering are you interested in? I don't know. What do you need? Honestly? Everything. We have after-school programs for kids. Literacy classes for adults. A food bank. A clothing drive. Take your pick. What would help the most? She smiled. Someone to read to the younger kids. We have a reading hour every Tuesday and Thursday, but we never have enough readers. Reading. Like he used to read to Sophia. I can do that. Great. Can you start next Tuesday? I'll be here. Tuesday arrived. Raffles showed up at the community center in jeans and a blue sweater. The reading room was full of children aged 5 to 8, all eager for stories. Everyone, this is Mr. Raffles, the coordinator said. He's going to be reading to you today. The children stared at him with wide eyes. Raffles felt a moment of panic. What if he couldn't do this without Sophia? What if this made everything worse? Then a little boy in the front row raised his hand. Can you do the voices? For the different characters. Raffles thought about how he used to read to Sophia, making his voice high for the princess and low for the dragon. I can do the voices. The children cheered. He read for an hour. Then another. The kids were captivated, laughing at his silly voices, gasping at the scary parts, cheering when the hero won. When he finished, they begged for one more story. Next time, he promised. If you're all here next Tuesday. They promised they would be. Raffles started coming to the center twice a week. Then 3 times. He read to the children. He helped in the food bank, sorting donations and packing boxes. He tutored adults working on their GEDs, remembering Carolina's dream of going back to school. The work was hard and unglamorous. His back hurt from lifting boxes. His voice grew hoarse from reading. He went home exhausted every night. But he felt alive. One evening, a young mother approached him after reading hour. "Thank you," she said. "My son talks about you all week. About Mr. Raffle and his story voices. You're making a real difference in his life. A real difference. Not in quarterly profits or stock prices. In an actual child's life." "Thank you for telling me that," Raffle said. He started to understand what Carolina had tried to teach him. That kindness mattered. That showing up mattered. That being present in small, consistent ways could change the world. Weeks passed. Raffle kept his promise not to contact Carolina. It was the hardest thing he'd ever done. Some nights he'd draft texts, his fingers hovering over the send button, before deleting them unsent. But he was changing. Growing. Becoming the person he wanted to be, not because someone was watching but because it was right. He donated money to the community center, enough to expand their programs and hire more staff. But he also kept showing up himself, reading and sorting and helping. The money was easy. Showing up was the real gift. One Thursday, while reading to the children, he looked up and saw Mrs. Chen standing in the doorway. She'd never visited the center before. After the reading, she approached him. "I followed you," she admitted. "I wanted to see what you've been doing. And I'm proud of you, Mr. Carter. This is good work. It feels good. Better than anything I've ever done in business." "Don't give up on her," Mrs. Chin said quietly. "A woman who can inspire this kind of change in a person is worth fighting for." She asked for space. Space doesn't mean forever. When the time is right, show her who you've become. That night, Raffle went home to his big empty house. But it didn't feel quite as empty anymore. He had purpose now. Direction. Even without Carolina and Sophia, he was becoming someone worth being. He just hoped that when the time came it would be enough. Sophia had stopped drawing. Carolina noticed it first when her daughter's teacher called. "Mrs. Brooks, I wanted to check in about Sophia. She's been very quiet lately. Less engaged in class. Is everything okay at home?" "Everything's fine," Carolina lied. "She's just going through a phase." But it wasn't fine. Sophia came home from school and went straight to her room. She picked at her dinner. She didn't laugh at cartoons anymore. And she'd stopped drawing entirely. Carolina tried to talk to her about it. "Baby, don't you want to make a picture? Maybe one with penguins? You love penguins." "Don't feel like it," Sophia mumbled. "What do you feel like doing?" "Nothing." It had been a month since Carolina had asked Raffle for space. A month of watching her daughter slowly lose her light. A month of lying awake at night wondering if she'd made a terrible mistake. She'd thought she was protecting them. Protecting herself from getting hurt, protecting Sophia from getting too attached. But in trying to prevent future pain, she'd caused present pain. And that seemed infinitely worse. "Sophia, talk to me. Please. Why doesn't Raffle come anymore?" There it was. The question Carolina had been dreading. "I told you, baby. He's busy with work." "That's not true." Sophia's voice was small but certain. "You told him to go away. I heard you on the phone." Carolina's heart sank. She'd been so careful to have that conversation with Raffle when Sophia was at school. But she must have mentioned it to someone. Her mother, maybe. And Sophia had overheard. "Sweetheart. Did I do something wrong? Is that why he doesn't want to see me?" "No, Sophia. Never. This isn't about you." "Then why?" "He said he loved us. He said he wasn't going anywhere. But he did go. He left just like my daddy left." The comparison hit Carolina like a physical blow. Sophia had never mentioned her father before. Never asked about him. Carolina had thought she was too young to care. She'd been wrong. "Raffle didn't leave like your father did. Your father left before you were born because he was scared and selfish. Raffle left because I asked him to. Because I was scared." "Scared of what?" How did you explain adult fears to a 6-year-old? How did you make her understand that sometimes love scared you more than loneliness? Scared of getting hurt. Scared of depending on someone who might leave. But you made him leave. So you hurt him. And you hurt me. The simple truth of it was devastating. "I know, baby. I'm so sorry. Can you ask him to come back?" "I don't know if he will. But you can try?" Carolina looked at her daughter's hopeful face and realized she'd been selfish. She'd been so focused on protecting herself that she'd forgotten what mattered most. Not her fear. Not her pride. but Sophia's happiness. And her own if she was honest. I can try, she said. Sophia hugged her fiercely. Thank you, Mama. That night, Carolina pulled out her phone. She'd deleted Raffles' number from her contacts but still had it memorized. She started typing a text half a dozen times, deleting each one. Finally, she settled on simple honesty. I miss you. Sophia misses you. Can we talk? She hit send before she could change her mind. The response came 3 hours later. Carolina had almost given up hope. I miss you both too. When and where? They met at the park. Their park where this had all started. It was late afternoon on a Sunday, the time they used to meet every week. Carolina wondered if Raffle had chosen it on purpose. He was already there when she arrived, sitting on their bench. He stood when he saw her, and Carolina's breath caught. He looked different. Tired maybe. But also peaceful. Like he'd found something in their time apart. Hi, she said. Hi. They sat on the bench together, a careful distance between them. How have you been? Carolina asked. Busy. I've been volunteering at a community center across town. Reading to kids. Helping with their food bank. That's wonderful, Raffle. It's because of you. And Sophia. You taught me that there's more to life than work. That kindness matters. That showing up for people matters. Tears pricked Carolina's eyes. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I pushed you away. You were scared. I understand that. But I hurt you. And I hurt Sophia. She stopped drawing Raffle. For a whole month, she hasn't drawn a single picture. She saw pain flash across his face. Is she okay? She's sad. She misses you. She thinks you left because of her. God, no. I could never. He turned to face her fully. Carolina, I need you to understand something. I'm not going anywhere. Not unless you tell me to. I love you. I love Sophia. That hasn't changed and it's not going to change. How can you be sure? Because I spent the last month trying to live without you, and all it did was make me more certain. You're not a phase. You're not a distraction. You're home. Carolina was crying now, not trying to hide it. I was so stupid. I thought I was protecting us, but all I did was hurt everyone. You were protecting your heart. There's nothing stupid about that. Can you forgive me? Raffle moved closer, closing the distance between them. He took her hands. There's nothing to forgive. But Carolina, if we do this again, we have to do it right. No more pushing me away when you get scared. No more running from what we have. We talk. We work through it. Together. Can you do that? She nodded. I can. I will. I promise. Then yes, we can try again. She kissed him there on the park bench where they used to watch Sophia play. When they pulled apart, both were smiling through tears. Can you come for dinner tonight? Carolina asked. Sophia would love to see you. I'd love that. Fair warning, she's going to tackle you the moment she sees you. I'm counting on it. They sat together for a while longer, hands clasped, watching the sun set over the park. Tomorrow they'd have to figure out the details. How to balance his world with hers. How to build something lasting from something that had started so fast. But tonight it was enough to just be together again. To be whole. Sophia was coloring at the kitchen table when she heard the knock. I'll get it, Carolina called, but Sophia was already running to the door. She yanked it open and froze. Raffle? He knelt down to her level. Hi, sweetheart. I missed you. Sophia launched herself at him, wrapping her arms around his neck so tightly he could barely breathe. You came back. You came back. I'm sorry I was gone. That was never what I wanted. Mama said she made you go away. Your mama was trying to do what she thought was best. But we talked and we figured it out. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to come around again. Sophia pulled back, her face serious. You promise you won't leave again? I promise. Even if you get mad? Even if things are hard? Even then. Okay. Sophia hugged him again. I missed you so much. I missed you too, sweetheart. More than you know. Carolina appeared in the doorway, smiling at them. Sophia, why don't you show Raffle what you've been working on? Sophia grabbed his hand and pulled him to the kitchen table. There, spread across the surface, was a drawing in progress. 3 figures holding hands. A man, a woman, and a child. It's us, Sophia explained. I wanted to finish it before you came back, but Mama called you today, so I didn't have time. It's perfect, Raffle said, his voice rough with emotion. Dinner was simple. Carolina had made spaghetti, the same meal from their first dinner together months ago. They ate and talked, and slowly the awkwardness faded. This was them. This was home. After dinner, Sophia insisted Raffle read her a bedtime story. They squeezed onto her small bed together, Sophia between Carolina and Raffle, while he read from one of the books he'd given her. Halfway through, Sophia fell asleep. Carolina and Raffle sat there for a moment, watching her breathe. "I wrote you a letter," Sophia mumbled, half asleep. "Mama has it." Carolina and Raffle exchanged glances. In the living room, after tucking Sophia in, Carolina pulled an envelope from her bag. "She wrote this 2 weeks ago. I found it hidden in her room. I was going to bring it to you tomorrow if tonight hadn't gone well." Raffle opened it. The handwriting was careful, the spelling creative. "Dear Raffle, I miss you. Mama is sad. I am sad. Can you come back? I promise to be good. I won't make you push me on the swings for too long. I'll eat all my vegetables. I'll go to bed on time. Please come back. We need you. Love, Sophia." Raffle's hands shook as he read it. "She thinks she did something wrong. I told her she didn't. But she's 6. She doesn't understand adult complications. I need to make sure she knows that none of this was her fault. We will. Together." They talked late into the night, making plans. Real plans this time. Raffle would come for dinner 3 nights a week. Sundays at the park would resume. They'd take things slow, but they'd move forward, not back. "I want to introduce you to my board of directors," Raffle said. "Let them know that my life has changed. That my priorities have shifted." "Are you sure? I don't want to cause problems with your work." "You're not causing problems. You're solving them. I was miserable before I met you. Successful and miserable. Now I'm successful and happy. They need to understand that the second thing matters more. What if they don't accept us? Then they can find a new CEO." Carolina stared at him. "You'd quit? For you? For Sophia?" "In a heartbeat. I'd never ask you to do that." "I know. That's one of the reasons I love you." The weeks that followed were different from before. Slower. More intentional. They talked about their fears instead of hiding them. When Carolina felt herself getting overwhelmed, she told Raffle, and they worked through it together. Raffle introduced them to his colleagues. Some were surprised. Some were judgmental. But most were happy for him, especially Mrs. Chen, who immediately bonded with Sophia over their shared love of penguin documentaries. Carolina started taking night classes online, working toward her high school diploma while Raffle helped with Sophia's bedtime routine. It was hard, balancing work and school and parenting, but it felt possible now. She wasn't alone anymore. One evening, Raffle arrived for dinner with an announcement. "I've been thinking," he said. "The community center where I volunteer, they need more funding. What if we started a foundation? You and me. To help single parents going back to school. To support community programs. To do real good with the money I've been hoarding." "A foundation? You could run it. Once you finish school. If you want it. It would be your dream, Carolina. Helping people. Making a difference. But on a larger scale." She couldn't speak for a moment. Then she nodded. "I'd love that. There's something else." Raffle pulled a small box from his pocket. Carolina's breath caught. "Raffle. Wait. Let me finish." He opened the box. Inside was a beautiful ring with a simple blue stone. "This isn't an engagement ring. Not yet. We're not ready for that, and I know it. But this is a promise ring. A promise that I'm in this for the long haul. That I'm not going anywhere. That we're building something real together. It's beautiful. Will you wear it? As a symbol of what we're building?" "Yes." She let him slip it onto her finger. "Yes, absolutely yes." Sophia chose that moment to run into the room. She saw the ring and gasped. "Does this mean Raffle is going to be my daddy?" Carolina and Raffle looked at each other. "Someday," Raffle said. "If that's okay with you." "It's okay with me," Sophia said solemnly. Then she grinned. "Does this mean I can call you Dad?" "You can call me whatever you want, sweetheart." "Okay, Dad." The word hung in the air, precious and perfect. "Okay, daughter," Raffle said, and Sophia squealed with delight. They were a family now. Not perfect. Not conventional. But real and loving and committed. And that was enough. 1 year later. The restaurant was crowded, just like it had been that first New Year's Eve. But this time, when Raffle Carter walked in, the hostess greeted him immediately. "Mr. Carter, your table is ready. Right this way." "Actually," Raffle said, "could you give us a moment?" He turned to scan the waiting area. Carolina and Sophia stood beside him, both in beautiful dresses. Carolina wore deep red, Sophia wore green. They'd become his family in every way that mattered. But tonight wasn't just about them. Raffle spotted what he was looking for. A young man standing alone near the door, shifting his weight nervously. The hostess had walked past him twice without acknowledgement. "Excuse me," Raffle said, approaching the man. "Are you waiting for a table? I have a reservation, but they said they're fully booked." Raffle knew that dance. He'd lived it. "We have a table. Would you like to join us?" The man looked confused. I'm sorry, do I know you?" "No. But someone showed me kindness once when I was alone on New Year's Eve. I'd like to pass it forward." The man's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. You have no idea what this means." "I think I do." They ate together, the four of them. The young man's name was Thomas, and he was new to the city, working his first job out of college. He had no family nearby, no friends yet. He'd been dreading spending the holiday alone. "This is amazing," Thomas said over dessert. "Thank you for including me." "Everyone deserves to belong somewhere," Carolina said, smiling at Raffle. "Especially on special nights." When midnight approached, they all stood together. Sophia held Raffle's hand on one side and Thomas's on the other, creating a chain. 10, 9, 8. Raffle looked at Carolina across the table. She'd finished her high school diploma 3 months ago. Next week, she'd start taking classes toward her teaching degree, funded by the foundation they'd started together. The foundation had already helped 12 single parents return to school. 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. Noise erupted. Raffle kissed Carolina as confetti fell around them. Sophia hugged them both. Thomas looked on, smiling but a little wistful. "Hey," Sophia said to him. "You look sad. Are you lonely?" "Sophia," Carolina said gently. "No, it's okay." Thomas knelt down. "I'm a little lonely. But tonight, because of you and your family, I'm not." "Good. Nobody should be lonely on New Year's Eve." After dinner, they walked Thomas to his car. "If you need anything," Raffle said, handing him a card. "Friends, job help, whatever. Call me." "Why are you doing this?" Raffle looked at Carolina, at Sophia, at the life they'd built from one moment of kindness. "Because someone did it for me. And it changed everything." Later, at home, after Sophia was asleep, Carolina and Raffle sat on the couch. "That was a good thing you did tonight," she said. "We did. This whole thing started because you saw me. Because you invited me in when nobody else would. I saw someone who needed kindness. Same as you did tonight with Thomas. You know what I realized?" Raffle said. "I spent 40 years trying to be successful. Building companies. Making money. Trying to prove I was worth something. But I was miserable because I was alone. Then you showed me that connection is what matters. Kindness is what matters. Love is what matters. You showed me things too. That accepting help isn't weakness. That letting someone in doesn't mean losing yourself. That love doesn't have to be scary. We're good together. We are." Raffle pulled a small box from his pocket. This time it wasn't a promise ring. "I know we said we'd wait. But I've waited long enough. Carolina Brooks, will you marry me?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes." "Just like that? No need to think about it?" "I've been thinking about it for months. The answer has always been yes." He slipped the ring on her finger, this one with a simple diamond that caught the light. They kissed and it felt like coming home. "Should we tell Sophia in the morning?" Carolina asked. "She already knows," a small voice said from the hallway. They both turned to see Sophia peeking around the corner in her pajamas, grinning. "You're supposed to be asleep," Carolina said. "I heard you talking. You weren't very quiet." Raffle laughed. "Come here, sweetheart." Sophia ran over and jumped between them on the couch. "So you're really going to be my dad now? For real?" "For real. And we'll be a family?" "We're already a family," Carolina said. "We have been for a while. The wedding just makes it official. Can I wear a green dress?" "You can wear whatever color you want." "And can we invite Thomas? He seems nice." Raffle and Carolina exchanged smiles. "We can invite Thomas," Raffle agreed. They sat together on the couch, the three of them planning a wedding and a future. Outside, the city celebrated the new year. Inside, they celebrated something better. They celebrated finding each other. They celebrated kindness and hope and love. They celebrated second chances and new beginnings. They celebrated family. 6 months later, they stood in a small garden venue, surrounded by friends. Mrs. Chen was there, crying happy tears. Carolina's mother was there, proud and beaming. The children from the community center were there, excited to see Mr. Raffle get married. Thomas was there too, no longer lonely, having made friends through the foundation's networking events. Sophia walked down the aisle first, scattering flower petals in her bright green dress. Then Carolina, beautiful in red, walked toward the man who'd once been a stranger standing alone in a restaurant. The ceremony was simple. They wrote their own vows. "I promise to always see you," Carolina said. "To never let you feel invisible or alone. To choose you every day for the rest of our lives." "I promise to show up," Raffle said. "To be present. To put love and kindness first. To be the father Sophia deserves and the husband you deserve. To build a life with you that matters." They kissed. Everyone cheered. Sophia hugged them both. And Raffle Carter, former lonely billionaire, looked at his new wife and daughter and felt richer than all his money had ever made him. Because he'd learned the truth. The one Carolina had known all along. Kindness matters. Hope matters. Love matters. And when you lead with those things, when you open your heart to others, when you show up and stay present, life becomes something beautiful. Not perfect, not always easy, but beautiful. And that was more than enough.